All right. Hi, everybody. I'm so excited today to be interviewing Ariana Newcomer. And I'm going to do a quick read over of her bio. It is incredibly impressive, and I don't want to get any piece of this wrong. So I'm going to read over it and just make sure that it's all done perfectly. She is incredibly impressive. So Ariana Newcomer teaches women leaders and change makers to unlock the power of their authentic voice so that they can improve their leadership presence, expand their impact and influence, and become powerful, inspirational speakers, which I know for one, we all need a little bit more of that, right? Ariana's lifelong personal growth journey informs her work along with her rich performing, teaching, and therapeutic background. She is called the Voice Coach's Voice Coach because of the depth of knowledge and understanding of the physical, psychological, and spiritual aspects of voice. Ariana has been coaching voices since 1995, and she just informed me that she has been an opera singer. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So she is a Harvard graduate, massage therapist, soul collage facilitator, and former professional opera singer and modern dancer. She holds 2 coaching certifications and is an internationally published best-selling author and mom of 2. Wow. Ariana, welcome to our podcast. Welcome to our audio and video conference. I met Ariana in Hawaii a few weeks ago. You guys all remember the retreat. I posted it all over social media and have been talking about it for weeks. And it was a life-changing event. Wouldn't you agree with me, Ariana?
Yeah, it was
life-changing.
Extraordinary. Yeah.
And I was cracking up as I'm reading over her bio because the woman that I met was very fiery and passionate and spiritual and a little bit different than the bio that I am now reading. I had no idea she could sing and dance and had 2 kids and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So it's amazing. So I'm so excited to have you here, Ariana. And I know today we're going to be talking about reclaiming your authentic voice. And Ariana knows who you are as a listener and a viewer. She's definitely interested in talking to us about this aspect today. So Ariana, why don't you just kick it off? What does this mean, reclaiming your authentic voice?
Well, let me tell a little bit about my story and how I got into doing this work. So as you read in my bio, I was a professional opera singer. And I have to admit it was a part-time profession at the time because I was raising 2 small boys, but I absolutely loved it. I thought that was my purpose in life, was to sing and to teach singing, and it was my most direct connection with the divine. And I considered my singing voice the voice of my soul.
That's beautiful.
And then I got a voice injury. And I had to stop performing, and it was absolutely devastating. It was really, really hard because it had been my greatest joy outside of my kids. And so I lost one of my greatest joys in life. I lost what I thought was my true purpose. And then a couple of years later, I lost my marriage to my dad. So it turned out that those things were intricately connected. In my marriage, I used to just feel like I was walking on eggshells all the time. So when my husband would come home, he would say things like, if I was reading the newspaper, taking a brief break out of my day, I wish I could read the newspaper at lunchtime. Or I would tell him I'd been to the gym. I wish I could go to the gym. And so I just felt horrible all the time. I was guilty about doing anything to take care of myself. And I was doing all the mom stuff, and I was also working part-time, and I had this part-time career as an opera singer. I was working as a massage therapist still. So he would also say things like, you don't pull your weight in this marriage. And I'm like, here I am doing all these things. So I wasn't appreciated. I wasn't honored. My voice didn't matter in the marriage. And so that's what ended up causing my voice injury. I got acid reflux. And that was one of the things that caused my voice injury. So healing my voice involved going through a divorce, so getting out of the toxic relationship, and then reclaiming myself. because I had really lost myself in that relationship, trying to do things right. And anybody who's a mom knows that that is really consuming, and you are just always trying your hardest and never succeeding to do it all right.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So I had to then claim my speaking voice as the voice of my soul. And I had to relearn how to speak up for myself so that I could be truly heard and understood. So I began helping other women be able to speak up for themselves when I learned how to do that. And it's just been this fascinating journey. I have learned so many things about the voice that I didn't know, in spite of all my years of classical voice training. Mm-hmm. This is just a miraculous thing, the human voice. It's astonishing, and we just take it for granted, mm-hmm. right? How often do you think about your voice? It just comes out, right? This is just my voice. This is just the way it is. But the truth is that we have developed our habits of speech out of stories that we told ourselves or that we told others, usually from our childhood and from our culture. And we've decided unconsciously how it's okay to sound or how it's okay to speak. Mm-hmm. And women, especially in our culture, have been taught to hold our voices back. Women don't shout. You know, women are nice. We have to speak softly. If we speak loudly, oh, she's a B mm-hmm. word, or she's too aggressive. So we get caught between this rock and a hard place. And then men also have voice stories, and I call these voice stories. And for men, it's more often things like, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. It's not okay to talk about emotions. They've been trained out of that as children. And then also men can have the story that if I don't dominate the conversation, I will be seen as weak. And so men can be in the habit of talking over others, especially women. Mm-hmm. And in this era of Me Too, this is a really important story to become aware of. Mm-hmm. As a man, that you may have this automatic response to a woman speaking that, oh, what women say isn't important, so I can just talk over her. So I have this great story. The woman who helped me develop this work around voice stories was named Connie. And she came to work with me because she was really tired of people talking over her all the time. She was a CFO. She'd been in several Silicon Valley startups, and she was between jobs and having trouble finding another one. And she was sick and tired of being the family doormat. She was taking care of her elderly dad. Her adult son was living with her still. Her brother was living with her in between jobs, not contributing. And her sister wasn't helping out with dad. So she had a tiny little voice like this. She had this very quiet little voice. And I'm going to stop talking like that because you can't hear me, can you?
No.
So I started working with her, and I gave her exercises to increase the volume and expressiveness in her voice. And she said, when I do that, I feel like I'm yelling. So I said, I pulled out my decibel meter on my iPhone. I'm a sound geek, so I have a decibel meter on my iPhone. I said, okay, show me what you think of as yelling. And she did, and the needle just barely moved.
Oh.
I said, okay, let me show you what I think of as yelling in my big opera voice, and that's only part of it. And the needle went over into the red zone, and her jaw just dropped on the floor. And I said, let me ask you a question. Were you always told to be quiet as a child? She said, oh my God, my parents were always telling me girls should be seen and not heard.
That breaks my heart.
So she had completely internalized that and created a voice that couldn't be heard. So that was her core voice story.
Mm-hmm.
And when we uncovered that, then she allowed herself to do the exercises, and she allowed herself to increase the volume and expressiveness in her voice. And she got a new job. She found herself taking the lead at work in ways that she had never done before. You know, after her interview, she called me and said, I used my power voice and I got the job.
Yay!
And she also started setting boundaries with her family members.
That's awesome.
And she had a creative explosion. She started writing poetry and drawing.
Wow.
So our brains are incredibly good at fooling us about how we sound.
Mm-hmm.
They're always filtering how we sound through our voice stories. So whatever your voice stories are, and our individual voice stories are different. I also grew up with nice girls don't toot their own horns,
Mm-hmm.
which is really difficult when you're becoming an
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur or you're going into an interview or something. How do you, put it out there vocally,
Mm-hmm.
let it be heard in the sound of your voice, that you're confident and you believe in yourself and you believe in what you do, and you're worth paying a lot
Mm-hmm.
for who you are and what you have to offer. So our voice stories are just really wonderful things to begin to start being aware of. And I have a little gift for those of you who are listening. It's just 10 steps to reclaim your authentic voice. And there's a little more information in that about voice stories. So you can start thinking and wondering about yours and how they might be affecting you.
I love that. And we're going to put that link below in the notes. I love everything that you're talking about. And it just feels so relevant because I can picture myself throughout my career and even in my own marriage, same story as you, always walking on eggshells, always trying to not cause a fight, trying to be really quiet, trying to move to the other room and not be seen and not be heard. I don't remember as a child being that way. And I certainly allow my children to be loud and noisy and let them have a voice themselves. Tell me what you want to eat. Tell me what you want to drink. Go put your own clothes on. Like, go figure out who you are as a human. I'm not going to tell you to not speak, but my goodness, so many of us have been told that. And I think especially right now, to your point of being seen and how important that is as an entrepreneur, or how important that is, for me, I think about Walmart and my climb up the corporate ladder. My mentors would pour into me that same story of, you've got to know how much money have you increased the company and what have you done, and toot your horn and talk about it and put it on your review, on your annual review. And now I think there's a whole nother few steps, because it's been a few years since I've been at Walmart, but
yeah,
I think it's a social media thing where I had somebody just the other day. I kind of look to him as a mentor in my space. He's a fellow broker for Walmart, owns this huge brokerage firm, 10, 15 people that work for him. They do billions of dollars with Walmart, and they help brands sell into Walmart. And him and I were talking the other day about social media. And he says, so I've been watching you on LinkedIn and all the things that you post and all the things that you talk about. And he's like, I want my company to be just like you. So I took your stuff, and in our corporate meeting, I went through your feed, and I'm telling everybody, do what this girl's doing. And I think that's so scary to put yourself out there like that for the first time. And so he said, I had this big meeting and told everybody to go be like you on social media. And he's like, nobody has done it, not even me, because I'm scared. But what's interesting, and I think, Ariana, you see this too, is that is the future, especially for marketing. You're marketing now yourself. And so I wonder if there's some ways that maybe you help work with people to find their authentic voice, to be out there on social media, to do a Facebook Live, and all these terrifying things that are now the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has to do with getting this, that it's so much more compelling to be authentic. Mm-hmm. Than to be a sort of plastic or cardboard cutout of something that's a business person or an entrepreneur. Or we have so many options now that we really need to understand, especially if you're a solo entrepreneur or if you're developing your own business. It's all about connecting with you, because people have lots of other choices. Mm-hmm. And so if you're not authentically voicing yourself, if your voice isn't carrying the whole of you out there, how are people going to be able to connect with you? So
I agree.
one of the things that I teach is how do we bring that authenticity into the sound of your voice? So it's not just about your words. It's about the overall sound. It's about the resonance. It's about not having, girls should be seen and not heard voice. It's about not having a voice that's just like this all the time, that's kind of assaulting people all the time. And it's really having your tone of voice be congruent with your words and your body language.
Yeah.
So we can really get into trouble when our brains are telling us you're using plenty of expression, and we're actually using quite of a monotone like this. And our brains are telling us that we're really using a lot of expression. If we used any more expression, our brains would tell us, whoa, that's like way over the top.
Yeah.
So we have to retrain our brains. We have to retrain the way we hear ourselves, which is why it's really valuable to have a coach to work with. Because one of the things that I do is reflect back to my clients, this is how you sounded to me. And they'll go, really? That's how I sounded? Yeah, they'll hear it on the recording and they go, oh, dang. So having that reflection back will just really accelerate your process of opening up your voice. And here's the other thing is your voice is you. On this very fundamental level, our voice is our unique instrument of communication and connection. And I touch here, this is the little tiny larynx, that how does it produce all the sounds that we produce? It's just miraculous, as I said. But really, your whole body is your instrument. And when you understand a little bit more about your voice, you don't have to become a voice specialist, but when you understand a little bit more about it, how it works and how your brain works in processing your voice and the voices of others, then you open up yourself. You open up your voice, you open up yourself, like Connie did. She had this creative explosion. So we hold our voices back, we're holding ourselves back.
Oh, I love that so much. It makes me think of a conversation I had just yesterday. We have a local female-owned, beautiful company here in Northwest Arkansas, and she came into the office yesterday, and she sells this little kid's backpack. And it's adorable. It's cute. It's like $49. It's really expensive. And so we keep talking to her about getting it into mass retail and what this can do for her company. And she could be a multimillionaire, but she has to come down on price, which for her was freaking her out because she's like, but I want to keep it made in the USA. And I love the little ladies that hand stitch everything. And I love that we're supporting a company that's just right across the way in Missouri. And, if you knew all the blood, sweat, and tears that went into every backpack, people would pay $49. And to see all of that come up out of her, I was like, where has this been? I love it. And we talked a little bit about her. And I said, well, you're marketing a product by going buy this backpack. It's got cute designs on it. And you're not marketing your company by going, I'm a female business owner. I'm a minority-owned female business owner, and I am great at what I do. And I love every inch of this bag. And this is why you should love it too. And here are my cute kids. And here's them with their backpack. And so she kept trying to kind of hide behind the story of, I'm just selling a backpack. And I kept encouraging her and saying, no, we're selling you as an individual. And I need your face out there into the world.
Yeah, and it's also, there's a big movement of social entrepreneurship now. That group as well. She is doing.
That's good.
I have a passion for keeping my product made in the USA and supporting a company that's right across the river from me and supporting these ladies who do this stitching. And so pictures of them should also be,
absolutely,
potentially.
I love it. But it all ties back into this whole conversation about reclaiming your voice. And I'm picturing her again, and reclaiming who she is as a woman and as a CEO and as a mom and why she created these backpacks to begin with. And then all of that pours into your story that you're not just selling a widget. It's something so much more important than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you can help people figure that out and get to the core of it.
Yeah. And be able to express that passion
Yeah.
to let it out.
Yes. And not be scared.
Yeah. And there are other cultural voice stories that play in. So you mentioned she's a minority business owner. So many of the African-American women that I have worked with have had the story of, I don't want to sound like an angry Black woman. So African Americans have another whole set of voice stories, and African American men, of course, would have, I don't want to sound threatening, or, and then Japanese women have the expectation of being even more softly spoken than the men. They actually have separate words that they use, separate language that they use as women. The words sound softer and the meaning is softer than what the men use, which is much more direct and authoritative. And the Japanese culture is very soft-spoken anyway. And women have to be even softer than the men, so their voices get tiny. And there's some other places in South Asia that I've heard of that have a similar kind of story. So cultural stories are really, really important. And then just to, tie this back to this moment of Me Too, I want to, to give a shout out to all the men of ethics who are out there. And
Amen.
there are a lot of you. And you might be worried at this point, geez, did I do something? Did I say something back in the day? Or, that someone could have taken,
right?
I didn't intend. So our cultural stories, again, can feed into this. The way men can come across to women, making them feel devalued and not listened to. And so it's a great time to just give yourself that awareness. And also with love, guys, because this culture that men have to be the dominators and women are supposed to be the submissive ones and the nice ones, it's damaged the men as much as it has damaged the women. So men have been robbed of their emotional life in many cases. Men have been robbed of being a whole person too. So I just want to acknowledge that for you guys, that there's been damage on both sides.
Yes. And we recognize that there are good men out there, and we appreciate you for being good men.
Yes.
I love that. And so this conversation is for men too. And I think it's important what Ariana is saying is, look, if you feel like you may be communicating in a way that is threatening to women, or that maybe they would misconstrue something, or you're just not even sure what to say, maybe have a few sessions with her and say, hey, here's how I communicate with the women that I work with, or the women in my life, or my wife. And I want to make sure that I'm not one of those guys that are, that are saying the wrong thing and that are leaving the wrong impression with the women that I do love and that I want to, honor in my life. So I think that would be fun for you to work with.
One of the masculine voice stories too is, if I listen to my wife, I'm weak. I will be seen as weak. And I actually saw a little program about a company that makes containers, things that you can put your stuff in, your shoes, your stuff in your closet, your beads, to contain. I forget what it might be. The Container Store. I forget. But the owner of the company is very, very committed to having a really open corporate culture in which people communicate freely with each other and communicate well. And people love working there. And one man was interviewed who was from, I think, a Central American country. And he actually said, my relationship with my wife is so much better now since I've been working at this company and I learned to communicate this way.
Wow.
I actually listen to my wife now, and I never would before because I thought it meant I was weak.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. All right. Well, I certainly appreciate all the time and all the insight that you've given us today. If we have listeners or viewers that want to have some one-on-one coaching with you and maybe talk about reclaiming their voice, or even bounce some things back off of you, am I speaking in a powerful way? Am I saying the right things? If I'm a man, am I approaching women the right way? Maybe they need a little coaching. how can they find you to make that communication and that first step with you?
Yeah, well, if the first thing would be to just grab the 10 steps to reclaim your authentic voice and download that. And there's a link in there to my online calendar to have a complimentary 30-minute one-on-one with me where we can talk about these things. What's your biggest challenge right now?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to be in 6 months? And would we be a good fit to work together? And you can also check out my website at ariananewcomer.com.
Mm-hmm.
And be aware I'm also a priestess, so there's a lot of spiritual orientation on the website. And if you are a closet spiritual person, I am delighted to bring that into our work together as well, not required. So ariananewcomer.com, and there will be a link here where you can go to the page to sign up for and download the 10 steps to reclaim your authentic voice. And inside that, a link to my online calendar for a Voice Your Value breakthrough session. So looking forward to talking with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for helping us be mindful about our voices. And I will see you back around soon, okay?
Yay.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.